question is whether you do it on a countrywide level, central level, like the UK G-Cloud, whether you do it on a regional level, like the projects we discussed in South Africa, or you can even do it below on a city or urban area level, and you will always find the challenge between economies of scale versus local deployment and speed of deployment. And so as such, I would argue that here you'll always hear the notion of cloud computing. Cloud computing is always a delivery module. Don't think of cloud computing to drive your agenda, but if you think about boosting the efficiency of your local regional governments, thinking about how you bring your private sector, how you grow your private sector, cloud is a deployment model for ICT that is extremely valuable. So think of cloud computing as a deployment model, not as a leading topic to lead a discussion, because then indeed it becomes a fad. Third thing is that multi-channel communication. Again, the Austrian ministry said to me, yeah, we are moving away from e-government, we are moving into m-government, which to me is interesting, but to me it is not a different paradigm. To me, the question is, how can we deliver e-services through all the channels that citizens want to use? So from a citizen-centric perspective, the first question is, what are the channels that our citizens want us to deliver services in? Are they requesting the traditional channel? Are they requesting an e-channel through a portal? Are they requesting the use of smartphone? Or, moving into the future, they want to see governments delivering services in Facebook and social media. So the channel discussion, again, is an answer to what the citizen wants, understanding what the citizens want to see and how the citizens can best make use of the e-service is the first question, and then technology can truly deliver the best results. But now, just because mobile business is interesting, moving everything into mobile projects, I don't know whether it's a wise decision. I think it needs to really start with a view from a citizen and what kind of channels are really required for the various services. And to pick up on that, this is now where the topic of e-participation comes into play. Can we actually not only let the citizens decide on the appropriate channel, can we let the citizen decide on the prioritization of work? So this is an example we have built with some of the suburbs in London around cleaning streets, removing graffiti, making the city really ready for the Olympics in 2012. It's a relatively small project, but it's extremely powerful because citizens can now take their smartphone, so they can take their iPhone, take a photograph of a graffiti, upload it to a website and ask for removal. Or they take the photo, send it as an email and call the central service number. So channel integration, but the citizens actually set priority now for the local government of the borough of Lewisham on what tasks to perform first. And this way, obviously, citizens have a huge trust into government because they actually tell government what to do first and what to do last. And also they obviously have the transparency because they can go on the web and see on the tools which kind of work was performed, how long it took, what kind of money was involved. So it is a complete accountability of that borough of London of how they deliver their services to the citizens. So really making that change into a citizen-driven e-service model. That wouldn't be possible without the availability of open government data. So I'm very pleased to see all these open government data projects in the UK, in the US, in other places. I would argue if you just open the data, it's nice, it may increase the trust, but it does not deliver a straight ROI value to the government. So I was very keen to hear from Singapore about the APIs they offer around the open government data, because this to me is the key where open government data really becomes an asset. The picture you see here is the Vancouver city map with all the open data that Vancouver has put on the web. And they also start to think about APIs to, for example, allow logistics company to determine, to optimize their routes based on some of the infrastructure information, based on some of the information that is delivered through the open government. So in my view, unless you really do something with that data, either you allow citizens to work on it in a crowdsourcing approach, or you even better allow businesses to work on this data and take advantage of it. Unless you really capitalize on the value of the data, just opening it up has limited usage. It may increase your trust, but there's limited ROI for you as an e-government provider. So for me, open government data I would heavily argue, think about what ultimately can be done with the data, how additional incremental beyond today value can be taken out of the information that you externalize and make available. Underpinning everything I talked about is obviously ICT. And ICT, the bad thing about ICT is it's still emerging at an extremely high speed. So from a policymaker perspective, to get the hands around ICT, put relevant policies around the usage of ICT is more difficult than ever. And even worse, I've just picked out a circle here that we see, the cloud. So the ability to store data, to store applications somewhere and not having to know where it is, just pull them out, is fueling a tremendous change in, for example, how smartphone operates or how some of these new tablets operate. Don't think an iPad would work without a cloud, because all the content, all the applications for the iPad are stored in the cloud. All the data on your iPad will go to the cloud. The iPhone would not have had such a success without the cloud. So all these new devices are actually fueled by the cloud. Facebook, social media are fueled by the cloud and further fuel the cloud. So we see a circle of technology innovation that is turning very fast, that will evolve new form factors, new sensors. Smartphones will definitely not be the end of where we're going, so there's huge innovation there. Also, the social media will evolve, and in the back end, cloud data centers, the availability of compute power somewhere around this planet will also evolve at a high rapid speed. The problem for you can't control many of these dimensions anymore. You can't control Facebook anymore. So the question of how you interact with Facebook is a really important one. And again, with the Ministry of Interior in Austria, the question was, should we post data on Facebook or shouldn't we? And ultimately, there was a trend to say, yes, we may better use the channels that our citizens tell us to use. So the consumerization and the fact that our citizens are on Facebook force us to use this channel, because a government Facebook, at least in the Austrian example, a government Facebook was deemed to be unrealistic because it wouldn't attract traffic. So the question is, do you have to go where the traffic is? Are you forced to follow that consumerization? And this now creates challenges for policymakers and the e-government managers that we didn't see in the past in terms of how to get our arms around the trends of ICT. So bottom line, I would like to point out to three things as takeaways. First of all, policy. Governments, us as e-government policymakers, we need to think about and embrace ICT. We need to think about it very rapidly, because ICT is evolving rapidly and it needs to be intrinsic and everywhere in the policymaking. Don't think of it as an attachment that can come up later. So effective policymaking around ICT policies, data security in the cloud, etc., is absolutely critical for the right usage and the best possible adoption of ICT into e-government programs. Second one is governance. I would argue that we have to rethink governance structures. And it was a great example in one of the presentations where it was mentioned, for the first time, government entities talk to each other. There is really the need for government entities to share information, to standardize processes, to really collaborate in a far better way than in the past. And ICT is just a catalyst tool here. So governance driven by a top-down vision, but then breaking things into smaller projects that can deliver value very quickly, really require very good project management skills, but also a very well thought out governance structure, e-governance structure in the country. And third of all, change. Digital divide is an issue. It is an issue in my country, in Germany, with the elderly population. It may be an issue if you have a rural area. There will always be the question of skills and competence. The question of reskilling workers is a huge issue that we see in Europe, because these e-government projects actually will take the work away from a lot of government workers. So how do I reskill them and deploy them? How do I build capacity to really run these e-government programs? I was in the Ukraine and capacity is simply not there. These are things in the change management process, together with a good communication strategy about the value of e-government, that really is critical to make things successful, to make your e-government strategy successful. So it's actually more about policy, governance, and change, and less about the pure technology questions. Technology will follow, but put it into the right context, and I promise you will be successful. And with that, I would like to thank you very much.